You're listening to CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living. To learn more about who we are, what we do, and how we do it, call toll-free 1-866-928-3310, and we'll send you out a no-obligation information kit absolutely free. 866-928-3310. The CFRN Emini Futures Cast is now on Stitcher. Listen to us on your iPhone, Android phones, BlackBerry, and WebOS phones. Stitcher is smart radio for your phone. Find it in your app store or at Stitcher.com. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.
Are you ready, Steve? Andy? Yeah! Bert? Well, all right, fellas. Let's go!
You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Today's broadcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/CFRN. Over 85,000 titles. Choose from mystery, romance, religion, science, technology, business, New York Times bestsellers, even children's books. You name it, Audible has it. With 85,000 titles to choose from, you're sure to find the perfect audiobook for yourself or to give as a gift, and it's absolutely free. Just point your browser to audibletrial.com/CFRN. That's audibletrial.com/CFRN. And become a part of the audiobook revolution by downloading your free audiobook today. audibletrial.com/CFRN.
Hey trader, want to get rich quick? Well, good luck with that. If on the other hand you actually want to learn how to trade, the place to be is www.cfrn.net. Tune in Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern for our daily devotional, and then spend the next 3 hours learning how it's done from professional traders who actually trade for a living. That's www.cfrn.net every trading day from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro, and even T-bills. Joining us today from our studios in Boston, Mr. Michael Borth. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Monday, 11th day of March, 2019. So glad you could join us. If you're returning, welcome back. If you're here for the first time, a special welcome to you. Of course, our hearts are heavy and our prayers are with the families of those who were lost in this tragedy over the weekend, this Boeing crash. This is a big deal. It really is. This is the second plane to fall in 5 months. And the 737 MAX is Boeing's most important plane, and it has certainly turned up in the markets this morning in early trading as the S&P moved higher. The Dow was not able to follow suit. Boeing held the Dow back. The Dow has now turned positive, up 109 points. Now, this is big news. China is Boeing's biggest market, and China has decided to ground all Boeing 737 MAX 8 jets operated by its airlines. Boeing has predicted that China will soon become the world's first trillion-dollar market for jets. A dozen Chinese airlines have ordered 180 of the planes. 76 of them have been delivered. About 85% of Boeing's unfilled Chinese airline orders are for 737 MAX planes. Now, the 737 has been Boeing's best-selling product for decades. The company's future depends on the success of the 737 MAX. Boeing has 4,700 unfilled orders for 737s, representing 80% of Boeing's order backlog. Virtually all of the 737 orders are for the MAX versions. That's the newest model. So far, U.S. airlines have not grounded their 737 MAX jets. American Airlines, Alaska Air, United Airlines, and Southwest have ordered a combined 548 of Boeing's 737 MAX jets, 65 of which have been delivered. If those 65 that have been delivered are grounded, it would not cause major disruptions for the U.S. airlines because they do maintain huge fleets of other planes. They have recovered the voice recorder, so at some point, be it later today or this week, I assume we'll start to get some information as to what they found. Okay, let's take a look at the chart I have up. S&P 500 Emini Futures. If you cannot see the chart, go to our homepage at CFRN.net. On the right-hand side, click the big microphone. Follow the instructions. You'll be registered in about 30 seconds. You'll get an email each day before the show reminding you that the show's about to start. And if you find yourself out of the office, away from the desktop, and you're working off a cell phone, just go to youtube.com/CFRN/live, and there you'll find us. A live simulcast, thanks to the good folks at YouTube. All right, what have we here? Let's take a look. We had a high, we had a lower high, we had another lower high, we had another lower high. This was shaping up to possibly be another lower high. This high put in on March 7th, the 9:30 opening candle on Wall Street. Swing high was 2781.75. $27.82.75. We talked about this morning in the live training room. If we take out this high, and taking it out means by more than a couple of points, and it means also holding it on a pullback. We pop up, then this whole dynamic changes. I think I can help you see that. I'm going to get rid of these. There we go. If we take out this swing high, then we're building legs to the upside. You might say, well, we've already been building legs to the upside. Yes, we have. Bullish cross, leg, and a retracement, and a leg, and a retracement. In fact, if we look right here, I'll blow this up so you can see it better. I just want you to get the bigger picture. Let me show you what that looks like on the daily. Okay, you see where we are? Now, those of you that have been around any length of time, red and falling, and red and falling, tends to lead to lower prices. But we're going to find out as price reaches the CFMA1, which is overhead, red and falling, is it going to be good resistance? We see it all the time on the 30-minute. We see it all the time on the range chart. And we may be about to see it right here on the daily chart. Swing high again so far. 27.77.75 on the daily. That's not tracking right. The high is 27.82.75. Oh, I have that set. I know what it is. No? Oh, yeah, I gotta roll it. Didn't roll the daily. Here we go. Alright. That ought to do it. Yep, 82.75. And this is just right up into there. These are last week's weekly trading zones. This is last week's lowest weekly trading zone. We had an alert to consider selling 27.55. We triggered, made it down to 27.47, 8 points. Important prices, important areas are almost always tested. Price gets back above the trigger, it's the BBC, down we come again, and this time we make it down to 43.75. Back above the trigger, and then comes the run all the way down to 27.35. If you were waiting for an exit signal on this, that would have come. Well, there was a couple on the way down. I'll go into those in more detail a little bit later. This is the bigger picture right here. Are we going to put in a new high? Are we going to change the dynamic? Is the narrative going to change? And the narrative based off of this, refresh your memory on the daily. We had a high back in October. We had a lower high, another lower high, another lower high, and another lower high. That's on the daily. Similar thing shaping up here on the 30-minute. Let's take a look at the numbers from around the world. We'll start with the US market. This is the cash market. The Dow has come off a little bit. Currently the Dow up 73 points. NASDAQ up 124. Now that's over 1.5% for the NASDAQ. S&P 500 up 32. That's over 1%. Russell 2000 up 17. That's over 1%. In the commodity basket, crude oil up 83 cents, trading 56.90 last. Gold down $6.40. In the Asian markets, the Nikkei closed the session up 99. Shanghai closed up 57. That's almost 2% for the Shanghai. And the Hang Seng closed up 274 points, almost 1%. In European markets, the FTSE closed the session up 22 points. The DAX was up 81, and the CAC up 33. Green day in Asia, a green day in Europe, and so far it's a green day here in the US of A. We didn't start out that way, but that's the way the market has turned. Again, this is an important area here. If we take this out, if we take this high out, hold it on a pullback, that part of it is very important, then we're up to challenge these highs, which for all purposes can be, there we are. Take it. And our most recent swing high, which came a week ago today, or last night. It was Sunday night. This was the gap higher open. We were on the H contract at the time. Now we're on the M. On the H contract, you can see we gapped right into the zone. If you've not rolled forward to the M contract, that is something you want to make sure you do today. And the indices, a couple of the other ones. All right, let's zoom in on this. Now we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 green 30-minute candles in a row. This candle has 17 minutes of life under its belt. So we won't prejudge it until its work is done. But the beginning of what could be a retracement. Now, what news could come into the market today that could turn this thing on its head? Obviously something bad coming out of that flight recorder, out of Boeing. We'll just have to wait and see. Let's go to Michael and get a recap of everything that happened in the live trading room today. Michael, if you're ready.
Okay, I am ready. I am ready. Here we go. Let's put that up there. There we go.
Alrighty, it's all yours.
Excellent. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. It is 12:18 on this Monday, the 11th day of March 2019. If you have not taken a free trial with us, go to the home page here at CFRN.net. And in the right-hand column, it says 5-day free trial. Apply.cfrn.net. Click on that, and you'll be brought to this page, where all we ask for is your email, your first name, and how you found us. Click on the submit button, and you'll be sent a confirmation link. You must click on the confirmation link. Okay, if you don't click the confirmation link, we don't know that you took the free trial. So make sure you click that link. Okay? Okay. Spreadsheet. If you're going to read the spreadsheet, you're going to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today, as I said, is the 11th day of March 2019. We made 6 ticks in crude and 4 ticks in gold to get us to the goal for the day at $100 per contract. Today it took 50 minutes, 50 minutes, and 3 trades to get to the goal. At that point, we were up $100 a contract. And that's all we did today. I'll go through it all here with you in a few minutes, but we only missed 1 trade today. So there were only 4 trade opportunities available this morning, just because of the way the markets were. But on the month now, we're at $1,061. That's over 7 days, averaging $151 a day. On the year, we're at $5,160. That's over 44 days, averaging $117 per day. Okay. Okay. Now, yeah, this is gold. We had 1 opportunity right here to short gold, and we did, and we picked up 4 ticks on that. Okay. The rest of the time it was going into the low of the day. Or it was not trending. We did not put in lower swings here until we got way over here. Okay. Then we finally put in the lower swing and it started to trend. But there was nothing we could do with it. Then the cycle went up too steep. Couldn't do anything. And then during the break, well, this was coming up to the break. This up close off the BBC. That gave, it looks like it gave about 7 ticks. And that's it. That was it on the gold today. So we picked up what we could. And on the euro, you know, whenever you see a full morning session in one screen like this, you know there wasn't much happening. Right in here we weren't trending. That's why we didn't jump on this short. Okay, because we weren't trending. In the handout section of GoToWebinar, there is a new trade setup picture that looks like this. Step 1, make sure you have a trend. Okay, now we did not have a trend. So we weren't doing anything in here. And then by the time we got the down close below the trend line here, the cycle was going up too steep. And over here, this was during the break. And yeah, you could have shorted right there during the break. Okay, but that was it. On the crude oil, this is the one that we missed right here. I was talking, I think, with Justin at the time. In the pre-market, there was some nice movement here in the crude. But remember, crude opens up at 9 a.m., not 9:30. So there was some opportunity here. If you were there when it opened up, there was some good opportunity here. Could have gotten gold for the day easily on the first trade. I had a break-even trade right here. Then I missed this one because I was helping somebody. And then I grabbed the goal for the day right here. We needed 6 ticks to get the goal for the day, and I took it. So this one right here, I know we had some guys that got up to 15 ticks on this move. And on this one, I got 6, but there was more available than that. Okay, after that, there was nothing until the break. During the break, there was a long trade here. Another one right here. And one more right there. Now, this is all going into the high of the day, though, so it may not have been if this is the high of the day, so there probably wasn't any opportunity there, was there? Let's see, the time 56.97. Yeah, I guess there was. Okay, that was still okay. Currently, we just broke dynamic support right here, and it's pulling back up, possibly to test dynamic support and or the BBC right here. So what you would have to do is draw a trend line like that, okay? And look for a close like that down below the trend line. That would be a shorting opportunity right there from 56.80. Okay, stop would be a break even right now because that's a momentum trade. And you'd probably be out at break even right now. The ES, it just kept putting in new highs all morning. It was going up into the high of the day or weekly trading zone pretty much all session. Gotta highlight that again. There we go. Okay, so it got up in here, and then it had to get through it. Once it got through it, it had dynamic resistance dots printing here, and the slingshot wasn't allowing any long trades. Then it was going into the high of the day, so it couldn't do anything. I mean, that's why you don't see any highlighted areas in here, because it was pushing the high of the day or a weekly trading zone all morning. So we didn't have any opportunities there on the ES. Now, if you were to look at it, like, let's go here back to the 30-minute. That's what Dwayne was talking about. And we were talking about it earlier. This level, way over here, 27.82 up in that area. Where's the high of the day right now? 27.82. If we break through this area, then it's up to this area here at 27.97. Okay, that's what we're looking at right now. The market's much stronger right now than you would anticipate. Okay, and that was the morning session. Okay, so let me bring this back up. And again, this is in the handout section of GoToWebinar right now. You can download this from the GoToWebinar handout section. Okay, these are the rules for the trade setups. Step 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The entry point rules are right here. Okay, and you got to note this. And this is when you use a trend line. If the cycle is the wrong color or price does not reach the BBC, you need to use a trend line. Okay. Okay. Let's go back here. If you have not taken a free trial with us, go to the home page at CFRN.net. And over here in the right-hand column, it says 5-day free trial, apply.cfrn.net. If you click on that, you'll be brought to this page where all we ask for is your email, your first name, and how you found us. Click on the submit button. Once you hit that submit button, you'll be sent a confirmation link. You must click on the confirmation link. Okay, if you don't click the confirmation link, we don't know that you took the free trial. So you got to click the confirmation link. Okay. Okay, the spreadsheet. Now, today, we had a very slow morning, as I just went over with you. It's really unusual that we only get 4 trade setups in the morning. I mean, we took 3 out of 4 of them, but we made 6 ticks in crude, Vortex and gold to get us exactly to the goal for the day at $100 contract. Took 50 minutes and 3 trades to do that, and we took a total of 3 trades. So on the month now, we're at $1,061. That's over 7 days, averaging $151 per day. On the year, we're at $5,160. That's over 44 days, averaging $117 per day. Okay, $117 per day. Yeah, and that's it. That's it, guys. With that, we can pass it back out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona. To Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park.
And here we are.
Here it is.
Recap of the recap.
Recap of the recap. Today it took 50 minutes, 5-0, and 3 trades to get to the goal for the day. And John is in the audience.
Yeah, he told me he was going to log in, so.
Okay, here you go.
Turn him on.
Got it.
Okay. John, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hey.
There it is.
Hi there.
Well, quite a tragedy with the plane.
Oh yeah, terrible. No, look, this situation with this potential link between the 2 crashes is really diabolical, and I mean, it's scary to say the least. And
speaking of diabolical, I mean, on 9/11, when the World Trade Center was hit, the manner in which that attack was carried out was especially sinister and diabolical. And you know, the thought came to me this morning. One engineer, you know, one guy writing code somewhere inside of Boeing. Well, it's a terrible thought, but it could be a new type of terrorism.
Yeah, you know, that's an interesting angle. I probably didn't hear that anywhere else. So it's interesting that you should air that idea. You can never say, you know, you can never rule out anything, especially with this stuff going on with Huawei and this spying that's been going on, where they had these boards with this chip embedded that was the size of a pinhead that, you know, was probably discovered by accident more than anything. Right. You know, so but it certainly has alerted everybody to the possibility, as this is the same, and it's something, you know, it's a new thing that has to be guarded against in a very it's kind of like hacking, you know. It's like these embedded things that can suddenly spring to life and take down a system, you know, phone company or electrical grid or whatever, you know. It's a really big deal. Yeah,
and this isn't a vulnerability that somebody discovered. I mean, this is an intentional, premeditated. This didn't happen by accident.
Yeah, well, look, exactly. I mean, look, you know, the last decade we've had an unbelievable, you know, this haven't had a crash in like 10 years, or quite a few years, really major crash anywhere. I mean, planes have been unbelievably safe, and then all of a sudden, you know, there's been a.
Well, I was referring to the chip on the board about that being intentional.
Okay,
yeah, as far as Boeing goes, yeah, we have no idea yet, but they have recovered the flight recorder, right? So go ahead.
Well, I mean, look, you know, new planes like this 737. I don't like the 737 very much as a plane personally. I mean, you know, the 757 that Trump flies, the 777. 767 and 787. I mean, they're a fleet of planes that are just a fantastic record. But the 737s had, you know, I mean, they had that engine came off, you know, killed that person, and almost lost that flight. That was very lucky that they were able to land that plane. You know, there'd been a few other mishaps recently, engine fires and things. There was a time, and there was quite a long time ago, there was a British Airways plane had the same kind of thing happen to this engine that blew up. The engine blew up near Manchester Airport, I remember. So this 737 MAX being brand new, virtually, you know, or a new generation.
That's a good point. It's brand new airplanes are not supposed to fall out of the sky.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just, and look, you know, taking off.
And this is the second one in 5 months.
Right, and actually there was one that an Aeromexico plane, had, you know, it's very rare for a plane taking off to crash. And there was an Aeromexico plane that took off from Durango or somewhere like that, and they aborted. It was a weather issue more than anything, but you know, everybody survived that crash, so that was a pretty big deal to be able to survive a crash like that. But you know, obviously landing and taking off are the two most vulnerable times for aircraft. But the number of the number of takeoffs that have gone badly are very, very few. There was that one that happened in Afghanistan on a 747, if you remember, where the cargo got shifted. It had too steep a takeoff, and I think the cargo went to the back of the plane and pulled it down. That was terrible. But this, you know, this thing yesterday is just unheard of. It's just absolutely unprecedented. Practically, I can't even remember of any similar situation. Maybe there's one or two, but they're very, very seldom. You know, even, I mean, look, there's been some half a dozen planes. You know, it was the 5-year anniversary of this MH370 disappearing, you know, over the Indian Ocean. There's been half a dozen big planes that have gone, you know, fallen out of the sky from 35,000 feet type of thing. The rest of them probably weather related, you know, and most of those ones were pilot, you know, I mean, you know, either sabotage or something like that. So, you know, most of these, it's extremely rare, even weather-wise, for planes to you know.
China has grounded all of their 737 Maxes.
Yeah, I think they should probably ground them all worldwide.
They ordered 180 of them. 76 have been delivered. 80% of Boeing's unfilled orders are for the 737 Max.
Yeah. How much? How many percent?
80%. Wow.
That's amazing.
The 737 has been Boeing's best-selling product for decades. Boeing has 4,700 unfilled orders for 737s, representing 80% of Boeing's order backlog. Virtually all 737 orders are for the MAX versions. The U.S. has not grounded. U.S. airlines ordered how many? 548. 65 have been delivered. And they say if they end up having to ground, if they choose to ground the 65, that it won't cause any major disruptions for U.S. airlines because they maintain huge fleets of other planes.
The Boeing stock actually opened down 10% this morning, and it's rallied back about...
That was a huge drag on the Dow early going until Apple took care of that.
Yeah.
Apple being upgraded today to a buy. Upgraded to a buy by Bank of America.
Wow. That's interesting, considering all these, you know, competing phones have come out, the Mate and the other one, the two folding. Must be something, there must be some sort of upside surprise coming on this stock. Anyway, you know, we went back long on the dip on Friday. We actually covered near the lows and went back long, and we're still long right now going into this where we are. This is a pretty big deal, and I think the reason why the market's acting so well is that the budget was delivered this morning, and it has a 15-year plan to balance the budget built into it by cutting expenditure in most of the departments except for military and the border wall. And I think Trump has got a fair bit of negotiating power with this, because even though the Democrats lamented it right away and called it dead on arrival and all this sort of thing, they probably going to, they're gonna look, they're gonna say, give us XYZ, and we'll give you your $8 billion. It's probably how it's going to end up. I think the situation after I mean, look, you can the Democrats can go on forever and say there's no crisis at the border, but the statistics are obviously not are the exact opposite of that, and it's getting out of control. Even the New York Times wrote about it, and they're overwhelmed. I mean, they're absolutely overwhelmed right now. So they've got to do something, and so we'll see how it all works out. But it's a way to solve the issues that's a pretty decent gap on that apple that you just pulled up. Yeah. I mean, it kind of looks like this, the way we pulled it. Remember we said last week, this thing, if we started noticing that the mid cap wasn't going. It was a very narrow range day when on that turn, and then the late rally on Friday was pretty powerful, especially after hours. The way the market went higher, and the semis are back to leading the way again. The advanced decline might even be back to making new highs. But look, when you have, this is what I tried to say, that the 87 template that we're following is finished up with a pretty strong March. We didn't falter in 87 until towards the end of March, and then it was extreme. So, if we get up to 2900 or possibly even 2940, somewhere like that, get back up to the highs, and then have a pullback to 2730 or 2660, that would be acceptable. That would be a kind of a higher right-hand shoulder, and would be potentially very bullish on the S&P and the the other indices, and the Nasdaq's acting really well too. And remember, the results that are coming out, look, this jobs thing may be, and something very important. I think we mentioned it on Friday. The U6, which is another measure of employment. Don't forget that I think some of the Hispanic female employment numbers, they still hit new lows on Friday, unemployment. And the U6 measure also hit new record lows. And that is definitely not recession, when that U6 is a kind of a leading indicator of recessions. And the fact that we made new lows on Friday, in spite of the 20,000 jobs, it was quite remarkable. And it's very possible next month this thing could be it could be easily revised up to maybe 80 plus or even 100 plus or something like that. So it's not. It could be an anomaly. Probably was because of the weather and the shutdown, and it might actually reflect, because of the shutdown, there may be, it might have created a temporary demand for new employment. Also, probably tomorrow, I'm not sure when the JOLTS is coming out, but that should give us a pretty good read on things as well. So, I mean, the way the market's acting right now, it certainly is potentially very positive, because in 9 months out from the December route, from the January route, and the December route, there could be a bit of a dip in the economy in the third quarter, sort of going into the fall, but it might be very short-lived, and it might be that it might be enough to make the Fed lower rates. the way the market's acting, it seems that the Fed has.
Well, did you see 60 Minutes last night?
I wanted to. I haven't had a chance to watch that thing yet.
Jerome was very emphatic that we are done raising interest rates for quite some time.
Yeah, and that's good. I mean, Dwayne, we remember we talked about this like 4 or 5 months ago.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it sounded outrageous at the time when we said, they might actually lower rates by May, but it actually could happen, and I would be very, very bullish if they do. I mean, if they lower rates, if they start lowering rates in May, June, July, into the fall, I mean, it should set the economy up for perfect, optimum performance going into the 2020 election. And that's really, the name of that's and look, if they get an infrastructure bill passed at the same time, sometime later this year, that would be icing on the cake, for sure. And don't forget, you've got a lot of repatriation still going on, all these trillions coming back from overseas. The momentum from the tax. Everybody thinks this tax thing is a one-off deal. It's not. It's a kind of an ongoing. Remember, in '86 they did the tax cut. 87, the market doubled, more than doubled after that tax cut, almost tripled, I think. And then there was a pullback, but the momentum, remember, the bottom in '87 was, and it was just a correction. It was the exact perfect time to buy for the next 20-year bull market. And most of the '90s had the momentum of the '86 tax cut behind it, and we're sort of facing a similar similar potential stage as the '90s. Look, we're running up against the longest expansion in history. We sort of got the longest stock market bull ever, and the fact that it hasn't been, it's the longest, but it's not the biggest. The biggest was the '90s. It was about a 400% up move over 10 years. This is about a 300%. So there's, potentially another 100% to go on the upside. That a final sort of leg up from here could deliver, a good part of that. And the innovation that's going on, the pace of innovation. By the way, there's been some spectacular takeovers that have gone on in the pharmaceutical sector in recent days. There's one called ONCE, which is it's called just a second. Spark Technologies was just taken over at a phenomenal premium. It was at $50, and it was taken over at 113.
What's the
something like that? ONCE.
ONCE.
And there was another one.
And what was the takeover price?
113.
I'm surprised this thing isn't. Oh, it's not. Oh, wait, yeah. I didn't even see it way up here. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah. And there's another one called Biogen has taken over a company called Nightstar, NITE, for a similar pretty big premium.
My goodness. That's some happy shareholders.
Absolutely. And this is potentially very bullish for the biotechs, which, as you know, we think after, it's 2014, they last peaked when they kind of overshot to the upside. That was when Intercept and Madrigal went to $400 or $500 each. Those kind of days are possibly ahead again. A rerun to the upside. And look at the when the semiconductors are leading the way, it just you just got to go long. It's just the way it works. And in the late late 90s. I think the NASDAQ doubled in the last year, and I think the semis tripled. So it feels to me like this gap up that happened back, a few months ago when we reported it, or a month or two ago, was the beginning of something pretty big, and the results speak for themselves.
Need to get that? Here's the.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I guess that's a hard yes. All right, here's the S&P. Concierge Trade Alert last night was to consider being long 27.56, and as we discussed, we put in a swing high up at 27.82.75. That's a 26-point move. That's what the market made available. Per contract available, 26 points. We've come into this double top. The question now is, as we head into the afternoon session, will the market retrace? Now, just as taking out this is pivotal to the upside, coming back, of course, we'll look at the low that was put in on Friday. On the Dow last night, 25,600. Swing high 25,602. On the short side for the Dow, and this was, of course, Boeing weighing on the market here. 25,430, which is right here.
Hello.
Hi, John.
Sorry about that. Okay. Yeah, we're probably just getting to a little point where we're going to pull back a little bit here on these markets. Just seeing, but they've been awful strong today. Very, very impressive, and kind of look like we've got. I mean, kicking off on Monday this strong, and actually ending Friday as strong as we did, and kicking it off today, is a pretty big deal. Actually, it's unusual. It usually means we're going to have a pretty strong week.
Well, John, you can see here on this on this 30-minute chart. It's what we were talking about earlier. This swing high that we put in on Thursday, right here.
Yeah.
This is where we are right now.
Yeah. Kind of a logical place to pull back a bit here, actually.
Yeah, and a pivotal place. If we take that out, then we go back up to challenge these, and then we go back up to challenge this.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's a week ago Sunday night right there.
Yeah.
Last night.
It didn't. If you remember, I said on Friday I wouldn't rule out a higher, even though it looked kind of weak.
No, you did. Yeah, no. As soon as it made that move, I said, "Yep, well, here he goes."
Thanks. So the other thing is the dollar is, kind of not that far from all-time highs, from new highs, excuse me, new yearly highs, and a weaker. It's almost like nothing can knock this dollar down. A weaker economy, a stronger economy, it doesn't seem to matter. And usually, if the economy does get a bit weak, it can be bullish for the dollar for a while. I would say, based on where we are at the moment, it doesn't look like the dollar is going to reverse unless we take 97 on the downside now, and definitely 96. Moreover, it kind of looks like it'll probe higher, and possibly, it might get to a point where, Trump the other day was talking about the dollar not being too strong to, influence the trade negatively. Remember, in 87, this is kind of, again, following the 87 template. The dollar didn't start, and in 87 it was when the Treasury Secretary came out and said we want a weaker dollar or something, and then that's when it kind of went into a tailspin. And when it started, it actually went into a death spiral, and interest rates rose, dramatically from about the middle of May onwards. So look, right now interest rates have gone down quite a bit since last year when the Fed raised rates and interest rates were kind of peaking, and everybody was worried about rates getting too high and breaking out over 3% and tanking the market. When the rates started, easing off sort of late December, that's what really kind of got the market going again. So, but in what might remember, there's a lot of, as I said before, there's a tremendous amount of built-in inertia, if you like, positive inertia in this economy. It's almost like we've never seen anything like it before, especially with the economy being so tight and with the employment levels at record lows, pretty much. And employment levels, don't forget, there's more Americans working today than ever in history. That's a incredibly big deal. So and look, if they get back on if the jobs creation gets back on track, sort of 100 to certainly 200,000 per month, that's going to potentially mean another 5 million jobs over the next couple of years, which would be huge. So things could get increasingly buoyant for the economy with that going on, and the inertia whatever, maybe the Fed came in and did some really powerful intervention that we don't even know about back in late December going into January. And remember, one of the issues that may have come up that really has not been talked about was Deutsche Bank was on the brink, if you remember, late December, and that's when Mnuchin was in Cabo San Lucas, and he made these calls to all the banks, and the initial reaction was the market tanked when they heard about it, but a few days later they finally turned, and this is potentially some sort of a bailout was put in place to or some sort of preventive action for these European banks. That is just the best thing for a bull market. Bailouts are very bullish, and that may be part of the story. So what I'm trying to say is, if the economy gets remember we rallied. Remember we rallied big time into September. So if you go 9 months out, the economy could get an extra spurt from that surge to almost to new highs. Remember, we made new all-time highs going into that September October high. So if you project out, the economy could really be hitting all cylinders going into the second and third quarter, and might surprise on the upside. And that could cause interest rates to rise in exactly the same way as what happened in '87. And, the market went up 30%. So stocks and interest rates were going up together. Why? Because the market was delighted that the increase in interest rates was actually, stimulating the economy, if you like. And there are periods in a bull market, usually at the end, where this tends to happen. So it feels like that's what could happen. After I think we're going to get a correction in April, May. It's virtually inevitable because we're going to have a record run here from the lows back to the highs. But when they get up towards the previous highs, given the severity of the last drop, there might be a lot of profit taking, and also if we don't get up to the highs, that could also cause the market to pull back. But after a pullback, if the economy starts pulling ahead again and the numbers all improve, which could happen, which seems likely, that would be a formula for a pretty big summer rally. It may be one of the biggest and best we've seen in a long time.
How bad do you think this North Korea business is going to get?
You know, I think it could be a little bit of a skirmish, but I think there's a pretty good chance it's going to get fixed. You know, so it might take some time, but I think it's unfortunate what happened, but maybe if they had a bit more time, they might have been able to work a deal. I think the Koreans were actually a bit shocked by they didn't think that was going to happen. You know, I think they thought they had a deal. So I think the shock of it may be causing some of their reaction to it right now.
It does seem a little bit elementary, as an elementary school. I mean, I think these are, maybe they both behaved badly. Maybe they had a bad interpreter. I don't know.
No, I think the interpreters were getting on pretty well, just from the body language. But obviously, look, they're very difficult people to negotiate with. That's been the warning all along. And but as a matter of fact, I looked at the North Korean won over the weekend, and I mean, listen, if people don't understand, the currency lost 90% of its value on this the UN sanctions deal. So they have
90%.
Yeah, pretty much. You can check it out. I mean, it's unless I'm getting bad data or something, that's what it looks like. And
no, I believe you. Yeah.
And that's that. I mean, his buying power has been absolutely annihilated. So you know, that's what brought him to the table in the first place. And then the sanctions on top of that, you know, are obviously hurting. So I mean, it was a pretty severe blow to North Korea to have that happen. Now, on the positive side, it's rendered them to be a very competitive, you know, if they decide to, you know, patch things up and manufacturing finds its way going from China to North Korea, and, you know, tourism becomes, I think that if they get a deal done and they open up the country, the curiosity tourism of Korea would be unbelievable. And remember, there's 1.5 billion people on your doorstep. You know, they couldn't even handle the amount of tourism that could go their way in the coming years. I mean, it would be like you know, Cuba opening up over the last few years the way it has. So which kind of went from 0 to millions of people a year. Because, you know, Cuba is a pretty favored place for the Canadians and the Brits and the Europeans and the Spanish, you know, especially. So stranger things have happened, and you know, that could happen in North Korea in a big way, and Russia as well. I mean, don't forget, you got a whole bunch of Russian people, all of Eastern Russia. I mean, it could become a happening place. You know, maybe they open up casinos just like Macau. It could you know, all kinds of things could happen in North Korea.
Do you think their ideology allows for that?
You know what? If they're going to do it, it's either, you know, they may not have much choice. It's if the conditions are right. I mean, he's got to get the memo from being in Vietnam. You know, we talked about that long before all this happened. You know, wouldn't it? I mean, it's, you know, Vietnam is just, you know, I mean, I know a lot of people from Ireland and Europe who live in Vietnam because it's such a great place. I mean, it's crazy, and they love it there.
Really?
Yeah. It's a very free and easy country. There's not, you know, nobody gets hassled. I think you know, the food is fantastic. All these things, and it would be the same in North Korea. Not quite as warm necessarily, but still.
Sure.
I mean, at the end I mean, he's got to be. It must have impacted him, you know, when he went there to see the possibilities of what could happen. I mean, let's face it. I mean, you know, they're both the countries were in a very, very long war with the U.S. One got ended, fortunately, you know, 50 years ago, and look at it now. And the same could, the same could happen in North Korea. I mean, all sorts of things. I just noticed they released one of the people who poisoned the brother got released out of jail. The Indonesian got released out of jail 2 years after 2 years. So you never know. There could be a lot of things going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I just don't see where he thinks shooting off another rocket is going to.
No, it's probably not
his
constructive.
Yeah.
Yeah, he might be threatening it, but he may not do it. And then, if he sends a nice letter to Trump, that could be the beginning of a kind of rapport or detente that could lead, back to where they were heading. So, I mean, he's still desperate. I mean, look, they can tighten up on the sanctions. Still, I mean, maybe Trump's making it part of his China deal. So, and remember, talking about the economy getting stronger. I mean, there's a lot of people out there who are saying that this deal with China is an absolute game changer in terms of stimulus, stimulating trade and getting world trade back on track. So that could be the impetus behind a big summer rally in the stocks.
What about gold?
Gold is the reaction on Friday was obviously very good, but we've pulled back a little bit. We're not pulling back too much on the silver. I think we've got to look at March the 15th, which is coming up this week, as a potential upturn day. It looks like we're retesting a little bit this week. The palladium and the palladium's back up today, which is a good thing. Good sign. Lumber's almost limit up again, and the grains may be turning. So I think we've got tomorrow. I mean, if that report comes in positive tomorrow on the grains, that could be the impetus behind a rebound back up. But I think the next time we get over 1,300 on the gold, that's going to be a big, very positive. And so I would look to, buy dips, not necessarily today, but let's see how the week unfolds. And if we get a late upturn by the end of next week, going into the following week, that might be it for the gold. And you might actually see a pretty big up move in the metals.
Yeah, we're at an important area right now on gold. If you could see the chart, this held the market back all the way along, and then we had support. The question is now, is it going to follow suit and become support again here, or are we going to take that out and go back to challenge, back down under 13?
Yeah, no, that would definitely, that wouldn't be constructive at all. No. But it does feel like it's going to try and, head higher from here. If it breaks back up towards, the mid to high 90s, I would consider that to be pretty positive. So it's kind of important right now.
Now, Boeing, interestingly, is scheduled to report orders and delivery numbers tomorrow.
Well, look, this stock, as we kind of got overdone a bit on the upside, this just in the same way as you say, markets have a habit of retesting. This is probably a gift for the big funds who missed Boeing on the way up and are able to buy it at a pretty good discount. So I think that if this thing were to gap up again on some sort of news tomorrow, that it might be it on the downside. And Facebook is plugging away. It's just made a new multi-month high here, and it's actually acting quite well.
Some analysts came out with a buy on Facebook this morning, I think, because they're supposedly cleaning up all their security issues.
That's the thing. That's the thing. What knocked the stock down was the fact that they were doing a lot of this, and the fact that they've that could be the upside surprise for Facebook, and another gap to the upside would be very very positive here. And this morning's gap was, this morning you kind of got a pretty strong gap already that's acting pretty well. And Amazon, I mean, you know, all these stocks are really acting pretty well today. Google, I think, in particular, has been pretty strong. Look at Google. Google's acting fantastic. So Netflix is another one that's doing really well. I mean, Netflix is almost back to an all-time high. And Roku's having, I think Roku's going to go to $100. It looks under 100 plus.
Yep, looks headed that way. Sure does.
Yeah, and you know, a little bit of a pullback on Xilinx and Keys, and they're looking like they're ready to charge higher again. And T-Mobile also not acting too badly.
T-Mobile, it's up against that same area that we hit here. Here we had, you know, support, and then resistance. And we got to see what happens. We need to get back above that. Well, and that's on a 30-minute. Let's look at it on a daily. Put it in proper perspective. There we go. Yeah, so this is just a pullback for another leg to the upside. I mean, this thing
looks that way.
It could really keep going. It certainly could.
Okay.
Anything else?
No. Thanks for the invite, and I guess we'll be switching over on the currencies and the indices here in the next few days.
We've already rolled, because on the S&P and all the indices, volume has exceeded on the M contract, so we have rolled those forward. We haven't rolled on the euro yet.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, listen, John, have a great afternoon. Thanks very much for the invite.
Thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. All right, and here we are. S&P. Still hovering at this previous swing high. Remember, this is an important area. If we turn down here, the narrative stays the same. If we take out this swing high, and then there's a slight change. You have to recognize that the market is going to try and pursue higher highs. Good word for the day. Excuses. We all got them. There's reasons, there's excuses. Romans 12:2 says, stop making excuses, or let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Change your thinking, change your trading, change your life. Sometimes our culture markets misinformation and half-truths. And since our parents grew up in that culture, they handed us the same guide for interpreting life. As a result, we may have arrived at these 3 mistaken conclusions. Number 1, there's a special person out there who will make me happy. Only God can do that. Hurting people only hurt other people. Luke 6:45 says, the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. Now, the next time you surprise yourself by spouting something that you wish you hadn't said, take a moment, take some personal time, and try to understand where that came from. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Number 2, when I attain a certain position or accumulate a specific amount of money, then I'll be happy. That's the old as soon as myth, and it breeds a life of discontent. Read about it in Luke 12:15. Number 3, I can't help it. It's just the way I am. That's the I'm not responsible lie. And it will stop you dead in your tracks. If you want to be happy, examine the excuses you keep coming up with to justify your behavior. Here's a few of them. I'm not the only one. So what? If everybody does it, does that mean God doesn't take it seriously? I don't see any harm in it. And who gave you the authority to write the rules and play God? I'll just try it once. So if you try it just once, does that mean there'll be no consequences? What are the lies behind your excuses? Examine them. They keep you in spiritual bondage. They must be unearthed and removed. The Bible calls this the renewing of your mind. Romans 12:2. Jesus said, once you know the truth, you'll be set free because your old belief system will be exposed. Imagine being free to become all God wants you to be. That's a goal worth pursuing. And that's our good word for the day. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading Emini Futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.